Hi, I'm Marion. You're watching She Wants the Diction, and today I'm going to be doing a Mad Men themed video. Now the idea for this video kind of came about from two separate things that were kind of happening around the same time, and that was I was binging Mad Men while in quarantine, and then also I was doing this series of videos where I was showing you guys like my book collection, and I had started off with the 1910s to the 1950s, and I was going to do a separate video showing you guys my books from the 1960s because I had basically too many to include them in that video. And so what I thought was going to be one video actually ended up being something where I would have to do it kind of as a series or risk overwhelming myself with work. So as I was going through all these books from the 60s, I kind of stumbled upon one that I wanted to read like right in that moment, and that was Women and Fatigue, A Woman Doctor's Answer, and this is by Dr. Marion Hilliard. And this was something that I found in a flea market several years ago, and thought that just reading some of the like outdated ideas or antiquated ideas would be like a fun exercise, because this is like a nonfiction book, obviously. And so I kind of picked this up, read this, and then like literally maybe a week later, I started binging Mad Men. And when the character of Betty Draper was introduced, I could not help but think back to this book and just think of all the parallels between her being like this very unhappy and anxious and depressed housewife, and how this might actually be something that like she saw like on a shelf and like picked up to read, or you know, something like that. And I was just all these connections were just firing in my brain basically from between the show and then just having read this book. So it was actually like really, really cool. And so I got this idea, which was that I wanted to do like a series where I would be reading like Mad Men characters. And initially I didn't know if I should, since they actually read a lot of books in the show, I didn't know if I should just pick books from the show and then sort of vlog me trying to read them or whatever. But then like I decided, although that would be cool and I'm interested in trying out a lot of books that were on the show, I feel like it would be more original to like pick books that I think would like go with the character kind of. And so I was like, well, I already have my first one done, you know what I mean? Because this is definitely, for me, this is like Betty Draper Central, you know? But so then I started playing this whole series in my head where it's going to be like a Mad Men character and then like one book that's like authentically from the time, that not something they were seen reading in the show, just something that I picked out that I thought, you know, they might read or might be interested in or might be representative of them. So I came up with this whole series idea, which I've been bad about like continuing series on my channel because I have a couple different series that I've done, like double feature where I review two books with at least one thing in common in the same video. And then I had like a book box series, I think, where I would like visit book boxes. So I'm really bad about like keeping up with those series though, just because like I have this problem. Well, it's not really a problem, it's just how I work, but I get really excited about ideas at the beginning, and then as time goes on, I get less and less excited about them and I don't want to work on them. It's something that I've had to get better about, and this channel has honestly helped me get better about, but I've tried, you know, when I say I'm going to do something on this channel, like when I said I would show you guys my antique books, I try to commit to then doing that no matter how much I might not want to do it later on. Like once the initial excitement and inspiration is worn off, I have to really push myself to commit to finishing the project. So hopefully this doesn't become one of those heat of the moment type things where I'm just really excited about Mad Men because I just finished the series, but I really want to hopefully commit to it and actually like finish out the series. So most people I feel like already know, you know, what Mad Men is, they've seen it, but if you don't, it's essentially about ad executives in the 60s and just kind of their lives, especially their work lives. And also don't let the title deceive you, because there are quite a few major female characters that are really well developed and I really rooted for while I was watching this, so don't think it's just male-centric. I really think if you're a person who likes a slow burn sort of character-driven drama, that you'd really enjoy it, and especially if you enjoy like historical fiction or like period pieces where they're trying for like realism. I also think if you enjoy anti-heroes that you're really gonna like this show. What really springs to mind for me is BoJack Horseman, although I know that's like a more recent one, or like Breaking Bad, stuff like that where the character is kind of very morally questionable. I think you're really going to enjoy like getting to know Don Draper. And I know also that starting with Betty Draper for this is probably a really poor decision, as she's actually one of the least favorites, at least from everything that I've seen talking about her. People really, really hate her character. And I think that's understandable because she has some moments of parenting where I think she is a really, really bad parent. Like, for example, when she locks her daughter Sally in the closet as a punishment, I'm like, that's actually abusive. And I also think that she's very emotionally reactive to situations. Like, she can turn on a dime and switch from being calm to like just losing her shit. But I think also, especially the first few seasons, I found her a very sympathetic and relatable character, and I felt really, really bad for her, honestly, because she's trapped inside the house all day, raising these kids with little or no help from Dawn. Even emotionally, he's checked out of the relationship. Physically, he's checked out of the relationship. He's cheating on her, sleeping with these other women, lying about it to her. She's seeing a psychiatrist for what I assume is probably anxiety, if I had to guess, and like some depression from always being stuck in the house and not really having a whole lot of friends or people to talk to, or her own husband's not really helping her out, which again is pretty normal for the time, but Dawn takes it to another level. Like, for example, he has her psychiatrist call him and report on everything that she says about him in the session to him, which is obviously like a breach of what psychologist is like supposed to do, or psychiatrist, sorry. I'm confusing psychologist and psychiatrist. I know the difference. So that's like a breach of privacy or whatever, which I don't know if that necessarily was common at the time, but like his total control over her, while at the same time there's this double standard of he can do whatever he wants, but there's certain things that she can't do. And I just felt for her because she seemed like she was really just trapped in the situation, and there wasn't a whole lot she could do because Dawn essentially like owned her and like controlled her, which is pretty representative of the times. And then she's also unfulfilled because she used to be this actress and now she can no longer pursue that passion. So I just felt really bad for her in general because she's trapped in the social norms of the time. And that's why I think Women in Fatigue is really a great choice for Betty, because she's somebody that doesn't understand what's wrong with her, because I don't think they really had the terminology or the language for like anxiety, depression, or things like that at the time. So I feel like this is a book that she would really be drawn to, because she would be like, well, why am I so tired all the time? Well, you know, the answer is you're doing all of this unpaid, you know, labor at home, like women, like cleaning up, taking care of the kids, you know, taking care of the household, all the expenses, pretty much everything, while Dawn is literally just the breadwinner. I mean, you're tired because you never get a break. You're always at home. Like, it's kind of funny in this because I was like, you're tired. You're tired because you're doing literally everything and you don't have a break, and you're not allowed to have any outside passions. And I just really feel like somebody like Betty would have really benefited from this book. And it's interesting because I feel like this book was really progressive in a lot of ways. Like, for example, the doctor who's writing this essentially called out a mother who brought in her daughter under the guise of just wanting to check up on her, like get a checkup. And essentially the woman just wanted to find out whether her daughter was still a virgin or not, which you can't really determine just from looking at whether the hymen is intact or not. So the doctor pretty much called out the mother for, you know, wanting to find out that information. And so I really feel like this book was progressive and almost feminist in some ways. And then other times I really felt like this book was very backwards and sort of regressive, displaying a lot of the attitudes that were common at the time. And one of the quotes that really struck me as just very much sexist was the following: "The man who wants to learn to understand a woman should know that she is just as unpredictable to herself as anyone else." And I just thought that was so ridiculously stereotypical, like this idea that women are just these crazy emotional beings that have no idea why they feel the way they do, and they're just subject to emotional whims and like can't be logical. The idea that like we can't use our brains to understand why we're feeling the way we do, or that we can't articulate our emotions. There's just so much in there that I feel like is just very much the stereotype. And it's even, I mean, it's even written by a woman doctor, and she's like, you know, obviously probably internalized this and really believes what she's saying. It was just kind of so funny to me because I feel like this is before, you know, feminism really got started, like, as a major movement. And so it was just interesting to see that idea being perpetuated. So this book was filled with a lot of like common sense type stuff where it was like, you know, you have to build in breaks. You can't just go all day and never take any time for yourself. I really feel like she was promoting the idea of just like taking breaks, self-care. When are times when you feel most energetic, like sort of common sense stuff. Like, do you feel, some people, they feel more energetic in the morning. You might just not be a morning person. Some people need to take naps. Maybe you can build in time for naps, but you have to build in time for yourself. And I really liked what she was saying about that. So this book very much had and was subject to the attitudes of the time, while at the same time having a little bit of progressive stuff thrown in there. So it was really a mixed bag, and I wouldn't like recommend this to anybody today, but this really feels like something that, you know, Betty might see and want to pick up to read or whatever. So I just really felt like this was very representative of her character, because at times I think Betty is very much on the right side of things, and then other times I feel like she is just like being so unreasonable and so difficult, particularly in later seasons. When she found out that Dawn was cheating on her, I could not have rooted for her harder when she started her affair with like the mayor guy. I really wanted her to get her own, because Dawn cheated on her multiple times, and although he set up this double standard where he tried to make her feel bad for cheating on him, but it was perfectly okay for him to cheat on her and lie about it, I really liked that she like got her revenge or whatever. Like, I was 100% rooting for her. I was like, go girl, you do you. Like, you know, the thing is, she had ample opportunity to cheat on him all the time. There were men hitting on her all the time, and she never really did anything with them, and she passed over those opportunities, but the whole time he was cheating on her. So yeah, I personally love Betty just as a character. I think she's a great character. This book, and Mad Men as well, I feel really addresses the concept of the working woman, because for the first time, women were actually holding down jobs and then actually coming home and, you know, obviously taking care of the household as well. So I feel like that's another reason a lot of women from this period were probably pretty tired, because they're pulling double duty, which is honestly still something that happens a lot today, is women performing, you know, unpaid labor when they go home. Like, you work your job and then you go home, and usually I feel like it's the woman who sort of picks up the house, washes dishes, makes sure the laundry is kept up on, those type of things. And that still happens today, even though I feel like there's much less of a stigma around, you know, both the mother and the father in the home working. I really think, although the 60s was not an era that was very progressive for women, Mad Men itself, I think, is a feminist show. So yeah, that is my first installment of reading like Mad Men characters. How do you guys like this idea? Who is your favorite Mad Men character? I would love to know down in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.